Hey, Bourbon family, Whiskey Phoenix here with you today on this manic Monday. I remember back when I was working, after a long 4-day weekend, I always hated the Monday after a long 4-day holiday weekend. I hope you guys are hanging in there. I hope the week goes quick for you. If there is some kind of magic, we could just make Mondays disappear. That would be fantastic. If any of y'all figure it out, let me know. So, no bourbon review today, fam. What I've got instead is I kind of want to pick back up on, I don't know if I want to call it a series necessarily, but just the informational type things that I've been doing. And I recognized in a few videos, kind of going back through some of them, I've talked about, some of the bottle and bonds. Like when I did the New Riff straight rye whiskey, it was labeled bottle and bond. And I said it had to be at 100 proof. So I figured, hey, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit about what does bottle and bond mean, because I'm new to the whiskey community. I didn't know what it meant. And luckily, the community that I'm a part of here in the Southwest Ohio area, he had actually released a short video about what bottle and bond was. And I was like, it's like, well, I'm glad I caught that. So I figure I'd do the same thing for everybody here in case anybody that comes across my account isn't one of the seasoned bourbon veterans that I've had the pleasure of meeting so far along the way. So, again, if you've ever spotted or heard anybody talk about bottle and bond on a whiskey label, and I've got my research and my notes up there where I have to read it because I'm not remembering all of this. You might have wondered what it meant and why it matters. It's kind of nostalgic, so to speak, as far as a throwback term goes, but the term actually means, bottle and bond actually represents one of the earliest consumer protection laws in the United States, guaranteeing a whiskey's authenticity, quality, and transparency. So for modern whiskey lovers today, especially those who value craft and consistency, bottle and bond is more than just a label, it's a promise. Now, you've heard me talk about, it has to be 100 proof in order for it to be labeled bottle and bond. But what are the requirements for bottle and bond whiskey? So to legally be labeled as bottle and bond, a whiskey must meet a strict set of federal standards established by the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. It was a landmark law designed to protect consumers from adulterated and inconsistent spirits. If I could talk, would be great. First, the whiskey must be the product of one distillation season. Again, that's either January to June or July to December, by one distiller at one distillery. It must be aged for at least 4 years in a federally bonded warehouse under government supervision. And finally, just like I've said, it must be bottled at exactly 100 proof and cannot contain any additives, no coloring, no flavoring, or blending with spirits from other seasons or producers, so that these requirements ensure that your drinking is a true expression of craftsmanship, consistency, and unaltered quality. Whew. See, it is Monday. I can't even hardly talk, and I haven't even had a drink of bourbon today. So why was the Bottle and Bond Act created? In the late 1800s, the American whiskey market was flooded with counterfeit and often dangerous spirits. There were unscrupulous producers that cut corners, adding everything from tobacco spit, yuck, and caramel coloring to turpentine and iodine, oh God, in an attempt to mimic the look and flavor of aged whiskey. With no regulations in place, consumers had no way of knowing what was in their bottle or whether it was even whiskey at all. So that chaotic landscape led to growing public demand for whiskey regulation and greater consumer protection. And it's so wild that the first, like, FDA requirement, if you will, is actually what this is. So to restore and elevate standards, the U.S. government passed the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, the first federal law guaranteeing the authenticity of consumable product. They introduced clear requirements and placed a government oversight on bonded warehouse. And the law created a gold standard for whiskey. It marked the turning point in whiskey history, elevating quality, transparency, while pushing out the wave of fake whiskey that plagued the 19th century spirits. So for distillers who took pride in their product, it became a badge of honor. Now, why does bottle and bond whiskey still matter today? Well, in the modern spirits market is filled with marketing buzzwords and very vague production claims. Bottle and bond remains one of the few labels backed by law, and that's exactly why it still matters. So for whiskey drinkers like us, it offers a rare level of trust and transparency, providing clear proof of origin, aging, and strength. So when you pick up a bottle of anything that's labeled bottle and bond, you're not just getting high-proof farm-to-bottle bourbon. You're getting whiskey made under rigorous standards with nothing added and nothing hidden. So a little bit of additional research that I found interesting, that beyond its legal definition, bottle and bond has become a symbol of whiskey authenticity and whiskey quality, often embraced by brands that let me try that sentence again. So bottle and bond has become a symbol of whiskey authenticity and whiskey quality, often embraced by brands that value heritage and craft. These expressions tend to reflect traditional craftsmanship, harkening back to an era when distillers focused on purity, consistency, and character. So whether you're a newcomer like me, seeking a trusted whiskey label, or a seasoned enthusiast like a lot of you are, looking for something with depth and integrity, bottle and bond remains a benchmark worth exploring. Let me see what other notes I took here. So for whiskey nerds like us, bottle and bond means it helps us to make more informed, confident choices about what we're drinking. It's a category where marketing terms can be misleading, not the bottle and bond category, but just whiskey category in general. The bottle and bond label stands out as a government-backed guarantee. So, again, it guarantees the authenticity, quality, and tradition. So, whether you're exploring, a high-proof rye, or you just want to add it to your collection, knowing the story behind bottle and bond helps you appreciate the craftsmanship in every sip. So, yeah, I was able to find some research that kind of, put it out there a little simpler, a little more condensed. I know that was a lot, but there's a lot to it, and it means something, and that's exactly what they wanted it to mean. And again, to me, it's just crazy. It was really one of the first things that our government stepped in before an FDA was created and actually regulated, was whiskey of all things. So I hope you found that informational. I will probably try and get a few bourbon reviews in this week. Again, my collection is dwindling of what I have left to review. Searching for that ever elusive job so I can get back out there and start hunting whiskey and bourbons, and being able to bring you guys more reviews. That's why I take these opportunities to try and come up with these informational sessions, if you will. And again, they're more geared towards people like myself that are new to the scene and maybe don't understand all of it. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this Manic Monday. Drop in the comments below some of your favorite bottle and bonds. I'm getting ready to drink one of my favorite bottle and bonds from one of my favorite distilleries, New Riff. As always, please drink responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.